On this episode, let's talk about the difference between sensation location and arousal location, why that even matters, and how understanding the difference can benefit you, and how being able to move your arousal center can benefit you even more.
This is the Holistic Alpha Podcast, where you unlock your potential and elevate your life on a foundation of empowered, sacred sexuality.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Stephen Mathis. Thanks for being here, being part of the tribe. Let's talk about the location of sensation versus arousal. And it might not be something you've ever really thought about before, but it actually matters. They are different. One is kind of movable, one is not. So first of all, sensation location is obvious enough, right? If you're edging, if you're having some kind of stimulation to your cock, that's where the sensation is going to be. But when that's happening, where is the actual sensation of arousal? So that light or that warmth or whatever way you may describe that feeling, where is that? Where's the center of that? If you really tune into it, if you close your eyes and you really tune into when you're in your edging practice, you're having sex, if you close your eyes and you really tune into that, where is the center of that kind of light as it grows? Right? For a lot of guys, it's going to be pretty close to that sensation location. It's going to be pretty close to kind of the genitalia, right? It's going to be in that general vicinity. However, here's the beautiful thing. We can move it. And when we move it, amazing things happen, because one of the things that I've talked about, one of the things you may be aware of, we have this microcosmic orbit. We have this flow of energy through our body. We have this flow of, among other flavors of energy, we have this flow of sexual energy that flows through our body. And where your arousal location is, where that is centered, will have a big impact on how that energy actually flows. So what a lot of guys experience in the early years of their sexuality, and maybe for a long time, is that arousal location, this may be you, if you tune into it, it may be real close to kind of right there, right? Like in your pubic bone, kind of center of your body area right there. However, again, you can move it. And the way you move it is with your awareness. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But when you move it further along the path that energy is going to eventually travel along, if that makes sense. So if you take that center, and it's not like a permanently moving it, it's not a structure, right? It's kind of a moment to moment, practice to practice, day to day kind of thing. But when you move that center, it has a huge impact on how the energy flows. So in general, the more you can move that center of arousal along the microcosmic orbit, further along it, good things happen. So first, you can move it a little bit further back, sort of in your perineum, a little more towards the back part of that, right? And then maybe you move it towards the sacrum. I did a recent episode on the sacrum and how incredibly important that is, and amazingly impactful in what happens when we place our focus on that. But then we can even go a step further eventually, which is that center of arousal can, in essence, become our entire body. So let me give you a very, very practical example and how you can kind of test this and play around with it, right? So you're in your mindful edging practice. I would recommend that you close your eyes for this part, because when we close our eyes, our awareness becomes much more in tune with what is in our being, our body, our energetic field, all of those things. When our eyes are open, our brain is doing all of this processing of our visual field, and that takes brain power, right? So when we close our eyes, we become more aware of our inner world. So next time you're in your edging practice, close your eyes. As you're stimulating, feel where is that center of arousal, and then experiment with moving it a little bit. So as you feel into wherever that center is, and it's not like you're only going to feel that sort of energy of arousal in one tiny little spot, but it's going to be centered in an area. It's going to be kind of like this ball of light, right? That kind of grows as it gets more powerful, as you get more aroused. So where is that kind of ball of light that spreads out? Where is it actually centered? Once you tune into where it is, then move your awareness a little further back, a little further up, a little further along that microcosmic orbit. I know it might sound, to a lot of you guys, this might sound kind of like out there or woo-woo or whatever, but it's not. It is very, very practical. The absolute reality is that where our attention and our focus goes, energy flows. It is true in the actions that we take. So when your awareness and your focus is on a project, you're going to take action on that thing. Energy is going to flow towards that thing. When you're in your body, when your awareness is in different parts of your body, energy is going to flow to that. There's studies, for example, that show that by focusing on a spot on the forehead and imagining that it was warm, people were able to actually raise the temperature in that spot on their forehead. A very minor example and only one of many. The point is that it is a very real thing that we can move the energy in our body by moving our focus, right? Where the focus of our awareness is. Here's the amazing thing. The more you move it along, not only is it going to increase that flow, but it is hugely impactful in giving you more stamina and control. Because let's imagine that eventually you get to the point where, at least in individual moments for stretches of time, you get to the point where no matter where or how that sensation location is and how that's kind of happening, the stimulation that you're having to your cock or wherever, imagine getting to the point where the sensation is there and it's not like a sensation goes away, but imagine that arousal being your entire body, where there's no kind of little confined space that it's trying to fit in. There's no like little limited size box where when it overwhelms that, you lose control, you go over the edge, right? Imagine moment to moment, like stroke to stroke, sensation to sensation. Imagine that arousal actually building up throughout your entire body. You feel it in your arms and your legs and all of your torso and your head, and you feel it all these places as it builds up. That is absolutely possible. And long before you ever get to that point or need to even get to that point, not that you need to get to that point at all, but long before you get there, you will experience massive, massive benefits in the overall flow, in how you have control by tuning into that location, tuning into that arousal location instead of just the sensation location and actually moving it with your awareness. Really, this is one of those things that once you understand the idea, where the rubber meets the road is actually closing your eyes and going into your practice and figuring this out within your own body, because there's only so much we can kind of talk about it, right? Here's the thing to really remember is that in this context, in the sacrum discussion that we talked about the other day, if you've listened to that episode, if you haven't, go back. That one is probably one of the most impactful things for stamina and control that I have uh, in all the years I've been doing this, one of the most impactful things, and it's something that's really only come into greater clarity more recently. So if you haven't heard that episode, maybe if you've been listening to the show for a long time, which I'm so grateful for, go back and listen to that sacrum episode. But the important key, first of all, is remember always, whether it's the sacrum discussion, this discussion, anything else, where your focus goes, energy flows. So let's look at the opposite side of that, where we don't want to be, right? If your focus is entirely on your cock and your focus is entirely on where that sensation location is, how much energy can you store there? Very, very little, right? Very little. That's why often one of the negative loops that guys will get in when they're trying to have better control is they're doing certain things to try to have better control, and maybe it's actually kind of helping, but if your focus is entirely on that location, you're sending all of the energy there. It only has a very limited amount that it can build up, and then you're going to go over the edge and you're going to lose control, right? Whereas when you bring your awareness to an area that can store more, and eventually as you bring your awareness more into your entire body, which can store an unlimited amount of that energy, really, really good things happen. So play around with this, experiment with it. I would love to hear your thoughts, your feedback. By the way, quick heads up, if you're on Spotify, the comments below are now finally actually comments with like threaded comments where we can go back and forth and have actual discussions and you guys can interact with each other. For a while, it was only a comment and I couldn't really reply. Well, for a while, there were no comments. Then there was only a comment and I couldn't really reply. And then for quite a while now, I've been able to post one reply and then that's it, right? You can't continue to comment. I couldn't continue to comment. Now we finally can, which means we can have actual discussions about these episodes if you're on Spotify, which is definitely the place to watch or listen to the show. So go there, leave me your thoughts, your feedback, experiment with this, do a little effing around and finding out. What you will find out is that there is a lot of power in this, and even small amounts. It doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing where you're like, whoa, my center of arousal, my arousal location is totally moved. Maybe it'll be that, but even just a little bit, you start to move it a little further along that path, where as you're stimulating, as you're having sex, as you're in your edging practice, that arousal is starting to actually build up in a place where not only can more of it be stored, but it actually feels much, much better. Because imagine if it is your entire body, imagine every little bit of that arousal being felt throughout your entire body in a much more potent and powerful way, instead of kind of being really more focused in that genital area. Thanks, as always, for listening. I really appreciate you guys. Have an amazing rest of your day. Go keep stacking bricks in your life. We'll talk to you soon.
Dive deeper at holisticalpha.com.